People throw these supplies away, yet I buy them and flip them for $2,318 every single week. Now, the supplies and products I'm talking about are diabetic testing supplies. There are over 40 million diabetics nationwide. They all get a surplus of supplies, and most of them throw these supplies out because they just get a crazy amount of surplus. Let me break everything down for you and show you guys exactly what I've been doing for the past decade. So the supplies that we buy look like this. There are obviously others, but they are diabetic testing supplies, over the counter diabetic testing supplies in specific. So hypothetically, if you wanted to, you can go into any Walmart, Walgreens, Target, CVS, Rite Aid, and buy these right over the counter, no prescription required. But the only reason that doesn't work and you won't make any money is because they're already at full retail price. When we buy them from our clients off the street, they get flipped multiple times and get put back on the shelf. That is the reason for this entire business. I'm going to try to make this as quick and in-depth as possible because my computer is about to die. So they look like this. There are obviously other ones, but these are some of the supplies that we buy. And if you come over here, I actually got this study from diabetes.org, and it says how many diabetics there actually are nationwide. And I show that to show you the actual depth and size of this business, right? It says in 2021, 38.4 million Americans, or 11.6% of the population, had diabetes. So that was in 2021. Now we have to equate for 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2025 is almost over. So I would bet that number is probably 40, 45, 50 million, if not more, because you have to account for all the people that either don't know they're diabetic or they have pre-diabetes. So that number could very well be higher. And, sadly enough, it actually affects the lives of children. My father's been a diabetic all my life and almost all of his life. And, it really affects a lot of people. But at the same time, there is a massive opportunity within this disease and within this niche of business because all of these people get a surplus of supplies. And I know four things about every single diabetic nationwide. It doesn't matter if you're in California, Texas, North Dakota, Michigan, Florida, North Carolina. It does not matter. And the four things that I know about them is one, they get a surplus of supplies that they simply don't need. So, for example, my father, he needs about 4 to 5 boxes per month. He gets 10 to 15 boxes per month. So, if you need to test your blood sugar, twice a day, for example, this one box of 100 test strips will be sufficient. But if you're getting 4 or 5 of these boxes, eventually it's just going to stack up. Like if I'm digging a hole and you're digging the hole out and I'm putting 2 scoops of sand in the hole every time you take 1 scoop out. Eventually, it doesn't matter how big and how fast you do it, I'm going to fill the hole before you could take all the sand out of the hole. So they all get a surplus of supplies. One, they simply don't need all these supplies. Two, they won't use them. Three, they're either going to throw them out, or four, they're going to let them expire. So what I do is I do offline and online marketing. Now, for the first 8 years I started doing this business, I strictly only did offline marketing. It wasn't until 2023 that I actually started with online marketing, like ads and internet marketing, and really, promoting my internet presence. I strictly did offline guerrilla marketing. When I say offline marketing, I tell people think like a lemonade stand, or think like a yard sale, or think like a gym. You don't need a marketing degree to get those things out there. When you wanted to sell lemonade as a kid, you put out signs, you put out flyers, you put out business cards. You don't need, to be a Fortune 500 CEO to get some foot traffic. And that's what we do. We do things like Craigslist, flyers, bandit signs, business cards, push cards, things like that, to let people know that we're paying cash for these supplies, because otherwise they're just going to throw them out. They get these supplies on such a repeat basis and on a surplus base that they simply are just going to take up space, right? So we do offline and online marketing. I've been really crushing it with the internet ads that I've been doing over the past, 12 to 24 months. But if you're not tech savvy, or you don't know how to navigate your way around a computer, even I don't, and I'm kind of like a young guy. I probably should, but I don't. I'm not an expert on the computer, and I'm still crushing it. So when we do ads like this, we get inbound leads, right? These are diabetics that have a surplus of supplies. It could be 1 box, 2 boxes, 5 boxes, 10 boxes, 20 boxes. There's no set number on how many supplies or boxes of supplies these customers or potential customers could have, right? They could be stacking it up for months at a time, and they're either going to throw them out, then they see your ad or your advertisement, whether it's online or in person or on a street telephone pole or on Craigslist or somewhere online or somewhere out there in the world, and they call you, right? And you're basically offering cash for these supplies, right? And then what we do is we screen the client. So whether you're buying, a house or you're buying a car or you're going to be buying anything for the purpose of use or the purpose of resale, you're going to screen the client for certain questions. You're going to want to know certain things about these products, the condition, the date, different things about the products, to be able to know if it's going to be a good deal. And then we make an offer. So we actually buy these supplies based off a guaranteed resale sheet. We're not like selling them to, old people or knocking on doors saying, hey, you want to buy our extra diabetic testing supplies? We're selling them back to big name wholesalers slash pharmacies so they can get put back on the shelf, right? That's the whole purpose of this industry and in this business. These people get a surplus of these supplies. They don't need them. They won't use them. They will either throw them out or let them expire. We buy them and then recycle them on the shelf. So we buy these off our resale sheet from our private buyers where we already know how much we're going to get paid. So it's pretty much guaranteed money because it doesn't matter if you have 1 box, 2 boxes, 5 boxes, 10 boxes. We know exactly how much we're going to get paid per box. So then the final steps from there is basically purchase, create an invoice, ship, get paid, and repeat monthly. And that's the beautiful thing about this business. These clients get these supplies month after month after month. Now, it could be weekly, it could be bi-weekly, it could be tri-weekly, it could be monthly, it could be bi-monthly, it could be tri-monthly. In fact, I have one client that I only see her 2 times a year. But every single time I've seen her, and I've been buying her extra diabetic testing supplies for literally almost a decade now, every time I meet with her, I make about $1,500 to $2,500 in profit. So I don't see her every month or I don't see her every 2 months. I see her, about 2 times a year. But when I do see her, she has mountains of supplies. So once you know what to ask these clients, you're going to purchase the supplies. I typically pay my clients in cash, Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, check, however they prefer. I stack up a bunch of supplies. I could get 2, 3 boxes and ship it off, but I have a lot of purchasing power, so I buy a ton of supplies. I create an invoice. I ship it out via the UPS or the postal service. It arrives on delivery. Now, some buyers, once you build that relationship, they'll prepay you so that you can take that money and go buy more product. But typically, you're going to ship, then get paid, and then it's just about building up your customer base because the more clients you have selling you diabetic products every single month, the more money you're going to make. I look at each client selling me diabetic products every month as a mini rental unit. So there you guys have it. I'm going to be having a free training soon, a live training. But in the meantime, if you want more information about this business, just check the description down below. I'm going to provide my phone number. You can go ahead and text me directly, and I'll give you more information about how you can start this business. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.